All right, welcome in. It is a bonus pre-report for November the 29th. We came at you this morning with a report that led with everything that's happened in the NFC North. We mentioned the three teams in there that are combined 29-6 through 13 weeks for two of the teams, 12 weeks for another of the teams. And of course, that's left another team behind. And that team that has been left behind, the Chicago Bears, did wind up firing their head coach, Matt Eberflus, on Friday morning. This isn't wholly unexpected. Everybody saw the way that the game ended against the Lions on Thursday. My understanding is the scene was not pretty in that locker room after the game when it was just the players and coaches in there. But the coaches reported to work as they normally would on Friday. They hadn't been told anything. So they went through their normal day after game routine. They went through meetings, knowing that at 12 Central, they were going to be cut loose and they were going to have the weekend off. Tenor, of course, changed a little bit after 11 a.m. when Matt Eberflus came in to address his staff, tell them he'd been let go, and that the team was turning to Thomas Brown to be the interim coach. 20 minutes after that, GM Ryan Poles and Brown addressed the staff, and now they move forward. The players are off until Monday, so the players found out about this remotely, and now you're left with a team that's got 5 games to go, an interim coach who was the pass game coordinator just a few weeks ago, and an interesting set of dynamics going forward. This will be the first big football hire for Kevin Warren, the team president. He's been in place for 2 years now. This was something that a lot of people thought he would contemplate last year. The Bears caught fire at the end of the year last year. Matt Eberflus saved his job, got another shot at it with a new offensive coordinator. Obviously, things have not worked out as they had planned. And they do want to get a look now at Thomas Brown, who's been really impressive in the transition from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator. One of the coaches on the staff told me he's been a stud through everything the last few weeks, really a steadying presence for the players. But can he be the head coach? We'll see. He has gone from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator to interim head coach in less than a month. And remember, this is a guy who just got there, was part of the fired Panthers staff last year. So Thomas Brown gets about a month to show what he can do. I would expect that this is going to be a pretty expansive search. I know a lot of people are going to default here to the idea of just going and getting a guy to work with Caleb Williams, and I certainly understand that. I think what the Bears need is probably a little different than that. I think the Bears need a guy who's going to be able to come in and say no to people, and come in and have a very strong idea of what his program is going to look like going forward, and is going to be able to impose that program, and will be able to really lead. And I would actually put leadership above offensive prowess or work with the quarterback in this case, just based on where they've been as a franchise over the course of the last decade or so. So where does that lead them? Well, could be to an offensive coach. Cliff Kingsbury is an obvious name. People are going to connect the dots there because he and Caleb were together at USC. I would look at Mike Vrabel, who to me is was one of the best head coaches in the NFL over the last 5 or 6 years. Circumstances sort of got him in Tennessee. But I think he would be somebody who could come in and shake that place up and sort of reshape what the football operation is. Vrabel is somebody who, for whatever it's worth, was in Kansas City with Ryan Poles, the Bears general manager, for a couple of years at the end of Vrabel's playing days. Bill Belichick is a name I would consider. And I know that sounds a little outlandish, but I think the idea of going in to break Don Shula's record with George Halas's franchise would appeal to him. I think would probably need things set up a certain way. So there probably need to be further change in the organization to bring him in. But I think he could bring in a great offensive coach to work with Caleb Williams. Maybe that's Josh McDaniels. And I think he'd be able to sort of turn the Titanic there and change some things that haven't previously been changed. And then Brian Flores is another name. Brian Flores is actually a college teammate of Ryan Poles at Boston College. He's in the division. He's done a great job there. I think I can understand some concern with his work with quarterbacks, with what happened with Tua in Miami. I think he's learned from that. Obviously with Flo, a big question would be who you bring in as an offensive coach or an offensive coordinator. That would all be part of the interview process, figuring out that plan. Ben Johnson is someone who I think a year ago would have may have jumped if he had been offered that job. And he's been picky. He'll continue to be picky. After what's happened over the course of the last year, does that cause him to have second thoughts about what that job might be? I think that's certainly possible. It's something you'd have to work through with him. Is he the right fit? If you need somebody who's going to be a real strong voice and an alpha in that building, is he the right fit? I think that's an open question. But these are all things that the Bears have a ton of time now to look at. Now we have 3 teams that have fired their coach in season during 2024: the Jets, the Jaguars, and now the Chicago Bears. All 3 of those teams are getting now into the process of vetting candidates. The Bears will start it. The Jets and Jags are moving in that direction now. And the Bears do have that runway leading up to the end of the season. Thomas Brown gets his audition. Still, obviously, a lot for them to work through as far as getting ready to go and conduct a search in January and looking at how their football operation is set up in general. But for today, the news: the Bears fire Matt Eberflus after just under 3 seasons, and they'll be looking for a new head coach after the debacle in Detroit yesterday.